I really realize that these books are grooming our children. Our dollars are paying for this. If I was to show some of this content to a minor, I would get charged with showing them obscenity. But if a teacher does it or a library does it, it's exempt in 43 states.
We're about to look at a whole group of books that are from the kids section in Orange County libraries. This is in the section with books like Owls, How I Helped Set the Table, Dinosaur book. Same section within a foot away. Let's see what these books are. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lila Rose Show. Today's episode is extremely important. Did you know that there is pornographic material in our public library system and our school library systems, not just for adults, but for children? I have seen this myself, and today's guest has done an incredible job archiving this and cataloging it for the parents and the concerned citizens of the country. Our guest today is Karen England. She is the president of the Capital Resource Institute, an organization that I admire that's doing incredible work on the ground to push forward public policy that serves families. You can find Karen's amazing work and her new campaign over at takebacktheclassroom.com and takebackthecommunity.com. I urge everyone to check out these websites. They're catalogs of the sexually explicit and deviant materials that you can find in your public libraries, the library near you, and the public school classroom libraries as well. Today's episode is going to be a little different, everybody, because we're going to be doing a working episode. It's going to be a workshop. We're going to actually go through the books that you can find in the California library system. Many of these books are available in all 50 states, and you're going to see for yourself what unelected bureaucrats who are ideologically motivated, the librarians, are putting into our library system. This is something that everybody should know about it. So I urge you to put this episode aside if you're listening to it with children. This is not appropriate for children to hear what we're going to be sharing, but it's essential for everybody who is an adult who cares to learn about, and make sure to share this episode because this is a movement that will be unstoppable if the parents and the big brothers and sisters of America who care about kids get involved. Also, don't forget we have just launched our Supercast. Supercast is a special exclusive community. You get access behind the scenes to ask questions of a guest, have them answered on the podcast, and lots of other behind the scenes stuff that's going to be really fun. So you can go check that out over at rosereport.supercast.com. As always, don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're here on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed and hit that notification bell. All right, Karen, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Lila.
It's a delight to see you.
Yes, you too. Long time.
I know. I've known you now for, I think, 2 decades.
Yes.
And you've just been a stalwart fighter.
As you. I didn't start as a teenager. I wish I
you.
had, but yes. So yeah, we've known each other quite some time.
For those who haven't met you yet, give us an introduction on who is Karen England. And I know you're also a mother of 4 kids and a homeschool mom. So you have done the gamut of all the important work to help kids, but give us a little background on yourself.
So I'm a mom. We homeschooled our last one, because we moved to California and realized that's really the only choice here. Mm-hmm. And, I'm just really passionate about preserving parental rights, the issues of life, marriage, religious freedom. And I really have gotten drawn into this, stopping the sexualization of our kids. During COVID, you know, I always worked in the sex ed realm, but I really realized that these books are grooming our children, and it's so deep and wide that we really need to do something about it.
So I want this to be a bit of a primer for people, and you're the perfect person to do this. So thank you. And our dear friend Kim, shout out to her, helping set this all up. There are some really amazing activists on the ground who have been working in this space now for years and years. You, of course, are leading among them. And a lot of people, I think, just don't even realize the setup of what this looks like. So I want to start with the fact of we have these library systems, right?
Yes.
So there's the public library system, and then there's the school library system.
Yes.
Tell us, are these tax funded? And tell us about the governance structure for the library systems in our states and in our schools.
Okay. So this is kind of a general, but the public libraries, which are, you know, county or, you know, your local library that you take your kids to, those are funded locally, and there is some federal money that comes in, but they are mostly funded locally and governed usually by city council, county council, just depends on how your local municipality is set up. Public school libraries are governed by the school board, but the librarians get a budget. They pick the books. They order the books, and there is no process that things have to go through. There is no second set of eyes that are watching these books that they are ordering for our kids. So it's really unelected, unaccountable librarians that are.
And where do these librarians, how do they typically get their jobs? What do we know about your typical librarian?
Well,
because you think about the librarian, the stereotype, and they're this lovely, usually a
yes.
lady who is just like wonderful. She's serving the community. And there are, of course,
yes.
lovely librarians like that. But when you look at who is selecting the books, tell me about the structure there of who gets to pick which books show up on your library shelves.
Well, yes. And it's the librarian. And I will say the majority of them now have this told me everything here in Huntington Beach when they were saying, I actually have someone quoted saying that the librarian knows better than the mom what books kids need to read. And she said, because she has a master's degree. And I was like, oh, that's the problem that in whatever it is that these teaching colleges are doing. And so these librarians, all of their additional training comes from the American Library Association, which is a very left-leaning organization that believes in no boundaries for kids should have access to any content they want at any age. And they want to help them access this information. They come from a worldview that believes we are all born sexual. It's the whole Kinsey thing. We're all born sexual. We just need to embrace it, explore it, and they're there to help the kids do that.
So the American Library Association that you just mentioned is what is the group that trains the librarians. Mm-hmm. Is there a licensing process of any kind, or is it more just a training?
More just a training, and it depends on where you're at, what kind of training they are going to require. But they're tied in with the American Library Association. That's the newsletter they get. That's, what counsels them. That's where they actually check the American Library Association for their book recommendations and their ratings. And I've talked to several librarians. Several have quit recently because I was up in Oregon and they had to quit because they were told in December, they laid out all these indoctrination books, sexual books, and said, you've got to order a certain number in these categories with your budget. And she couldn't do it. Her conscience wouldn't allow her.
So the ALA, the American Library Association, is a far left group that promotes the sexualization of children.
Absolutely.
Here is on their website. They have a section called Intellectual Freedom. They talk about schools and minors' rights. Now, when I think of children's rights, I think about a child's right to be loved and cared for, given the right to life and the right to be
a mom
born,
and a dad,
the right to a mother and a father. These are all true children's rights. This is a real right that children have. Horribly, there is a set of ideological children's rights that are about access to sexual materials, deciding whether or not you're trans when you're 2 years old, a bunch of insane ideologically driven nonsense. And that even on ALA's website here talks about the importance of the minor's right to access any and all library resources. So I want to read this from the ALA website here. It says, library policies and procedures that effectively deny minors equal, and that we're talking minors as young as 3 years old, right? Mm-hmm. That deny minors equal and equitable access to all library resources available to other users violate the Library Bill of Rights. The American Library Association opposes all attempts to restrict access to library services, materials, and facilities. So right here, it's laying the groundwork that if it's available for adults, it should be available for children.
Absolutely. And I want to say they're not shy about it. When are we going to believe them that they're actually going to stock our shelves with inappropriate material? They can no longer, as an institution, be blindly trusted like when we were growing up. And, I think back, I think librarians, when we were growing up, I'm a little older than you, Lila, and they were actually volunteer parents. It was kind of governed by the school board. Now it's this, again, as education has grown, it's this entire department and they're doing their own thing and they're stocking our shelves with really, really inappropriate material for kids.
Now, the librarians that you mentioned in Oregon who were saying this is nonsense, my job is to be the guardian of this library to make sure it has the best intellectual materials for the community. This ideological pro deviant sex, pro LGBTQ, whatever for children is completely unacceptable. I'm not going to put it in my library. You said they lost their jobs.
Well, she ended up quitting because she couldn't do it, but she had seen a podcast I had done and then this meeting came. And when she came to see me, because I was speaking a few months later, she was crying because she talked about how much she loved her kids. She loved her library, but she could not obey that order.
So sorry to interrupt, but when you say order, what do you mean? Who was ordering it? Where did it come from?
There's usually a district official that oversees the librarians. So it was the district official in that school district, like the head librarian. I don't know what they called it in Oregon, but that sat down all the librarians in the school district and displayed, you've got to have this amount of these books, this amount of these books, and had them all laid out and said, this is what you have to do.
As you may know, porn addiction is on the rise for both women and men today. The porn industry is a $1 billion industry preying off of vulnerable men and women. The good news is that there is a solution, and our show is proud to partner with CovenantEyes.com. CovenantEyes.com is not only something to block explicit material on your phone, your tablet, or your laptop, but CovenantEyes.com is also a community to give you strength to choose good things instead of to choose the destruction of porn. For over 25 years, Covenant Eyes has been helping thousands of people break free and stay free from porn addiction. Whether you're a parent protecting your kids, a husband searching for accountability, or a wife searching for accountability, or somebody who just wants to make sure that porn doesn't make it onto your screen, CovenantEyes.com has got you covered. And right now, Covenant Eyes is offering a free 30-day trial specifically for listeners of this show. So you can go to CovenantEyes.com and get a free 30-day trial using the code Lila. That's CovenantEyes.com. Use the code Lila for a free 30-day trial. Start your journey to freedom today.
So we're going to actually look, everybody listening, we're going to actually look at some of these books. Now, we just had our podcast team, go out into Orange County. We're in Southern California right now, to your run-of-the-mill library, and these books are available in the children's section in Southern California libraries as we speak, and not just in any children's section. What we're going to look at right here is this is books. This is a little nook in a local library here in Orange County. So this is the section that we're about to show you the books that were in the section. But just to give you a feel for this section, this is the height of maybe a 3 or 4-year-old. You have, I help at home. I can clean my room, fold laundry, set the table, and more.
Yeah,
lovely.
Sitting right there. You're sitting on the ground. It's right there
so cute.
Where they can reach it.
So cute. This is a book about how to set the table. Here is a book about owls, On the Hunt with Owls. Super cute. Again, I've been to the library with my kids. This is so fun. Prehistoric Worlds, a book about dinosaurs. Okay. In the exact same section, we have a photo of this, in the exact same section as these books, literally a foot away, you can find these books. So we've got this book. It's called It's Perfectly Normal. Karen, give us a little background on this book before we dive in.
Well, it's perfectly not normal.
Okay.
Let me say that. It is drawn in cartoon. It says it's for ages 10 and up, but it's on the ground
this
in
was
the
in a
children's.
Section for kids for like 4-year-olds
this is ending
and
up in
5-year-olds.
in the children's section.
But even a 10-year-old, this is completely inappropriate. You'll see.
Totally inappropriate.
Really quick, who are these authors? This is Robbie Harris and Michael Amberry. Any idea about the politics and the background of these authors?
Far left. All of these are far left, progressive. A lot of them have had sexual trauma. There's just a lot depending on who it is, but they all believe that, again, kids are sexual and they believe the Library Bill of Rights.
And you mentioned, I know we're going to get to this. You mentioned Alfred Kinsey earlier.
Yes.
He's the famous sexologist of the 20th
who was a zoologist,
century,
yes.
Who was also a zoologist. And he did these really horrific sexual experiments himself that involved sadomasochism. Yeah. There was an experiment that involved sexually abusing babies that he used as actual research. It's unclear who conducted that experiment. Mm-hmm. Was it him or someone else? He kind of anonymized it, but he had a set of infant children, and he sexually assaulted them until they screamed. And he they screamed. He claimed that they were orgasming.
Yes.
Infants. They screamed in pain because he was assaulting them sexually. But this was an experiment he used to prove that children are therefore sexual and should have access to sexual content.
Absolutely. And he chronicled it. So you can go, and thank goodness for Dr. Judith Reisman, who uncovered it all, because she looked at it and said, in his research, how do you know if a 3-month-old has an orgasm or not? It just took some common sense to say, how on earth did he come to that conclusion? And she started digging deeper and deeper and deeper and finding out. And that's the start of when our laws started changing, because rape started getting less time for rapes. All the sexual assault stuff, they used Kinsey to say, well, they're impulsive and they're not monogamous. And, they're they're sexual beings, like they can't control it. So she also has a book about all the laws that came about as a result of the Kinsey study. But one of the really interesting things that a lot of people don't know about, because people will say, if these were in our libraries, porn isn't there, you'd get arrested. Well, here's the thing. When obscenity laws came out and there was the court case on it, over 43 states went and exempt from obscenity laws libraries, public schools, and universities. So if I was to show some of this content to a minor, I would get charged with showing them obscenity that is harmful to a minor. But if a teacher does it or a library does it, it's exempt in 43 states.
Insane.
And that comes back to Kinsey.
It's absolutely insane. So let's take a look at this book. It's called It's Perfectly Normal. The book is actually, it's horrifically perverted is what this book should be titled. And again, I want to just say this should not be political. I think if you take somebody who identifies as Democrat or Republican, somebody who is one religion versus another, your average parent, I would say 99% of your parents, when they take a look at this and you say, would you show this to your kid, your young child? They'd say absolutely not. If we are going to have a birds and bees conversation, which of course parents should be having with their kids at age appropriate times, that's one thing, or entrusted adults that they maybe include in that process, maybe a teacher they may include. But to have this at arm's length in our school libraries, unfettered access for kids or public libraries, that's the current status quo. So let's take a look at what's in this book. So I'm going to use your copy because we just earmarked it. So this was in the OC library. This is the book that Karen is exposing here.
It's in Huntington Beach as well. They're all over.
So let's start with this chapter, the very first part of the book, What is Sex? And it talks about how there's not just boys and girls, that gender is about the thoughts and feelings of a person about being male or female, that people are not necessarily a boy or a girl, that they can be any number of other genders or identities. We're going to get into that soon in this same book. So it starts right off the bat with that. Yeah. So then it goes to this part where it talks about how you can have anal or oral sex. And those are totally normal types of sexual activities alongside intercourse. What did you find to be the most shocking part of this book, Karen?
Well, first of all, that it's for children at all, and that they are telling them really inaccurate information. They have the pictures and the showing about masturbation and how it's perfectly normal and they need to explore their bodies. The graphic pictures, if this was a book about puberty and there was one picture of a body changing, but the rest of it was about puberty, wouldn't be so much. But the pictures in here are not intended to be about puberty. It's about sexualizing the kids. They're all very graphic, and the intent is not to teach them about puberty.
So here's a section. It says who you are: straight, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, plus. And it says that straight, lesbian, gay, and bisexual are words that have to do with sexual desire and sex. It says these are all different identities that you can have. It talks about how this is, a true thing in human history, that everybody has always had these different sexual identities. It talks about transgender. It says transgender is a word that has to do with gender, and you can be queer. It says you can be questioning. Again, these are all identities that your 10-year-old could have. And then it says, no matter what some people may think, it is important for every person to remember to treat all people with respect. That sounds generally fine, like a good idea. But then it goes on to explain that you can be, a person, anybody out there, and you're all the same, whether you're straight, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or questioning. They're all normal identities. They're all the same. You can pick one. You can be one. It doesn't matter. They're all the same. Let's go to the section on masturbation.
Well, and here's the thing. If let's say you're dropping them with your 14-year-old and your 6-year-old at the library while you run to the store or whatever, your 14-year-old is going to go sit down, and these are the books that are right there for the 4, 5, 6-year-old to open up and start reading, let alone the 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old that can read and is reading this stuff.
So here's a page called Perfectly Normal Masturbation. Again, this is for kids, and it's saying that you can feel sexy. It's saying that you can experience masturbation by touching yourself. It tells you how you can touch yourself. It has images of children masturbating in this book, children masturbating, calling this perfectly normal, encouraging it. Here's a section on condoms. It has telling you can use IUDs. Again, 10 years old. Even on the chapter, it says 10 years old on the cover. IUDs, Depo-Provera, birth control pills, male and female condoms, the patch. It shows how to put a condom on.
Yep.
This book, again, I'm reminding people, is on the same section as your household chores book that at the arm's length of a 4-year-old.
Yes.
Okay. Now here's a section on abortion, and it talks about how abortion is, there's a right that every woman has to end an unwanted pregnancy. It says there's good reasons to have an abortion. It says that the Supreme Court ruled that this is legal. It says sometimes abortions happen without you even doing it on purpose. So it completely conflates abortion and miscarriage. Basically, they're the same morally. It says females who have miscarriages can usually become pregnant again and give birth to healthy babies. The same is true for females who have chosen to have an abortion. So it's basically saying it's not, they're completely the same. It's completely equalized. There's a whole section on STIs, STDs. Sex is usually perfectly healthy and normal, but sometimes sexual activities can be unhealthy. Here it talks about how you should be using contraception in order to have safe sex. So
for 10-year-olds,
the way to avoid getting an STI for a 10-year-old is just use a condom.
Yep.
WeHeartNutrition.com is a vitamin and supplement company that provides the highest quality, researched back ingredients, customized and optimized to help you be healthy. What I also love about We Heart Nutrition is that this is a family-owned company, and they donate a full 10% back of all of their revenue to pregnancy resource centers to help moms and babies in need. So whether you are premenopausal or postmenopausal, whether you're looking to conceive, help improve your fertility, whether you're pregnant, and this is a great prenatal vitamin, or you're postnatal. Plus, I'm very excited to share this with my husband. Now We Heart Nutrition has come out with their first line of men's vitamins. And if you order today at WeHeartNutrition.com, get your vitamins, you can get 20% off using the code Lila. And if you spend at least $50, you will get a free signature bamboo capsule vitamin box. So go to WeHeartNutrition.com today. Use the code Lila at checkout to get 20% off your purchase. That's WeHeartNutrition.com. Absolutely.
And
unreal.
as the books, as you get older, they really talk about it. I found one that's new that I just ordered that talks about how normal it is and how we really, everyone gets them. So the message is the same as they get older. It changes a little bit, but it's all that there's nothing to worry about at all to get a sexually transmitted disease.
There's also a section where it says, puberty is a time when friends, even good friends, may try to persuade or pressure each other to try new things. They may involve sex, alcohol, or drugs. It says that's when it's important to make the decision that is best for you, one that is safe and healthy for you. So it's not saying that sex, drugs, or alcohol are harmful for you before a certain age or at maybe at any point. It's saying that as long as you know what's best for you, you're good. You're good to go.
And what about the 10 or 12-year-old girl that's being sexually molested by an uncle and is reading this that, it is okay. It is normal. It just is so deceptive. And I can't say it enough. They are sexualizing and desensitizing our kids, and we're doing the grooming for the sex trafficker. It's not the end result is going to be the desensitization, and these kids being, a child of the 60s having sex with anyone, everyone at any time.
I think the most real and present danger for your average kid isn't even per se the sex trafficker. It's just the internet and the fact that we've so normalized sexual activity for young children. Yeah. And that's what this is doing. Instead of saying sex is a beautiful thing, it's designed for marriage. Right. We'll tell you more about it as you get older. This is what it is. This is how it's a beautiful part of it. Instead of contextualizing sex as part of a relationship, which it is meant to be. Yes. It's not this thing that you do solo. Yeah. It's a relationship you have that brings intimacy, that can bring life into the world. Instead, it's saying this is kind of like just an activity, like eating or sleeping. Well, yeah,
that's why they do the masturbation. And so when you're not having sex at 10, you can masturbate in the same thing. So yeah, they're making that point. But one thing I will say, because we're criticized for saying, well, kids can get it on their phone and all of that. Yes, I agree. But taxpayers aren't funding it and the government isn't giving it to them.
So just to be clear, this book is in our public school libraries. We just found it here in Orange County, multiple libraries, and it is tax funded.
Yep.
Taxpayers pay for this.
Yes.
And it's available in the same sections that 3, 4, 5-year-olds access.
Absolutely. Yep.
I think most parents don't even know this.
Again, the media comes out with, the book banner, all the drama and that we just hate gay people. No, I don't want people. I want to stop them from sexualizing our kids and giving them these messages that are so wrong and repeated in the next grade, grade with the next book and the next book.
Karen, tell me about this book. This is on the shelves of Southern California libraries. Where in the library can you find this book?
In the children's section, that same lower level where you would just pick it up, the Everybody book. Now, again, it goes down and it talks about the LGBT inclusive guide, but the Everybody book, somebody might think that, this is just about puberty, and open it up.
Let's take a look. So here is page 15. This is the first section, sex and gender, immediately talking about how biological sex has to do with what our bodies are like on the inside, but it doesn't have to do with whatever we feel like, a boy or girl or neither. So right there, saying that your sex could be something else than what it is.
Yeah. So it's not this scientific idea. Or puberty.
Right.
The left wants you to think we're trying to get rid of puberty books. We're not trying to get rid of scientific puberty books. We're trying to get rid of sexually explicit books.
Okay, so this is the section where this is chapter 5. Love. It's calling it Love and Attraction. It says that there are people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, pansexual, questioning, or asexual. And it says you might see LGBTQIA with more letters or a plus sign to include even more sexual and gender identities. And then it shows a pride parade with children walking in the parade.
Yeah, teaching them to be activists as well.
It says some people have a sense of their sexual orientations when they are young. Coming out can be a lifelong process. For people who are not heterosexual or cisgender, it says your attraction stays pretty much the same throughout your lives. For some people, other people attraction can be fluid. So this is like the stereotypical by the book LGBTQ.
That's what the book is about. It's not about your body. It's about propaganda and LGBTQ issues.
So here's a section on sexual intercourse. It has like two kind of sexually ambiguous guys. It looks like two men sleeping together to introduce the idea of sex. Two lesbians together to introduce the idea of sex. And it talks about how you can have sex with people of all different, the same sex. Let's go to the section here on pregnancy. It talks about people who can get pregnant. So there's no mention of a mother. It says trans men and non-binary people with uteruses can get pregnant too. A person is pregnant once the group of cells arrives in the womb and starts to grow. So it's not even a baby. It's just a group of cells, but you are a man, but a man can get pregnant according to this very scientific book.
Yes.
Then it talks about abortion. It says some people there are medical and surgical ways that people can end a pregnancy called abortion. Some people have very strong feelings, but ending a pregnancy is a very personal decision. So already you can kill a baby. It's not a big deal. Yeah. That's what you want to do.
Your body,
you do.
Your choice.
Here is a page where it shows a man who is pregnant. And just like standard idea here. Yeah. Woman pregnant, man pregnant.
Same thing.
No biggie. And this isn't even the context to talk about pregnant men. It's just it's educating them about twins. And so, of course, just use a man who's pregnant for that. There's a segment here on birth, and they look like they chose somebody who looks like a man for birth, I think intentionally here. So they're probably trying to show like this is a trans man. What about this section? What do we have here, Karen?
Oh, well, safer sex, because every 5-year-old needs to know about contraception. And it's all about, again, contraceptions, and their cartoon drawings and promoting all forms of contraception. Again, that sex is for your pleasure and you can have it anytime, anywhere. Just use protection.
And it instructs people to ask other people what pronouns they use. Yeah. It says, if you're not sure whether someone, this is in the section called respecting each other. It says, if you're not sure whether someone uses he or she or they, you can always just ask what their preferred pronouns are. So this is a book that is in the kids section in libraries. Is this in libraries across the country as well, Karen?
Across the country and in public school libraries.
we're about to look at a whole group of books that are from the kids section in Orange County libraries. This is in the section with books like Owls, how to help at home. You know, clearly it's targeting very young children here.
Right.
Little Boy, How I Help Set the Table, Dinosaur book. Same section within a foot away. Let's see what these books are. All right. So we've got, what is this one, Karen? Have you seen this one before?
Well, I haven't seen that one, but they're all pretty much the same of the ones that I've gone through. And we've gone through hundreds and hundreds of these books, and it's all propaganda, normalizing, desensitizing kids, and very pro LGBTQ and plus.
So whatever. This one is called Love Has No Limits, Pride, an inspirational history of the LGBTQ plus movement. Starting with this guy who says, if I had the opportunity to have all this knowledge at a young age, I would have had a greater appreciation for the queer heroes that have paved the way for us.
Yes, the queers, they are the heroes in all of these stories. And actually, they're all very negative about fathers, about traditional households and marriages. And they actually, when they show a heterosexual couple with a kid, the other pictures on there far outweigh what a traditional family looks like.
Hallow is the #1 Christian prayer app in the world. It's been downloaded 10 million times. I love Hallow because they have sleep stories, they have the daily readings, they have scriptural commentary. You can listen to Holy Scripture. I also love that Hallow has kids content for your little ones. You can listen to stories, you can listen to prayers that are specifically designed for children, an amazing way to help you pray together as a family. A lot is at stake. We have only one life to live, and we've been given each day to make something beautiful for God. And that's why prayer is an essential part. It should be an essential part of all of our days. Hallow app is designed to help you pray and help you meet the demands of your day and listen and discern the voice of God in your life. So you can download Hallow today, use the link in the description, or go to hallow.com/Lila. You'll get 3 months free and use this incredible tool to deepen your relationship with God. Here's a demonization of Margaret Thatcher page on page 87. Margaret Thatcher loudly voiced her opposition to LGBTQ plus rights, talks about how Margaret Thatcher said children are being taught that they have an inalienable right to be gay. And it says that they ultimately had to stand up against her and her conservative government. Lesbian activists repelled into the House of Lords chamber from a viewing gallery, handcuffing themselves to a TV camera. More than 20,000 protesters marched in Manchester, and actor Sir Ian McKellen came out as gay in order to voice his fury. So this is celebrating the people that stood up to that bigot Margaret Thatcher in their view. And
so it tells you how far back this goes, that they have been working at indoctrinating our kids with these ideas, with using our taxpayer dollars from Margaret Thatcher days.
Here they have Ezra Lee, age 21, identifies as transgender male, and they're featuring this person as a hero, a queer hero. Pride to me feels feeling happy with my identity. I explored my identity, and it says, having been on hormone therapy for over a year, I'm now reaching the point where I pass in public and people think that's a man. It brings me an insane amount of euphoria. So this is a person who's really struggling, and they're being shown as a role model for people in this book, for a hero. Okay, so again, kids section, let's just see really quick. We've got Rebel Girls Celebrate Pride. So girl power. Laverne Cox is in this book, Lauren Esposito, all of these kind of LGBTQ activists that they're targeting
they might see on TV or out there, and they're promoting them as, girl power.
Here's another one. Sex is a funny word, it says. Tell us about this book, Karen.
Again, it's just like it's perfectly normal, and cartoon pictures that are promoting, again, in the children's section, everything from masturbation, contraception, have sex with anyone. It's your body, your choice. And they do it with cartoon characters, because if they were to do it with real people, it would be considered kiddie porn. But if they draw the cartoons of kids, it's not considered kiddie porn. And that's how they get around that distinction in law.
So this goes through, obviously it's using cartoons for the whole thing, but it has some messages in here that seem pretty innocuous about how bodies are good. Having a penis isn't what makes you a boy. Having a vulva isn't what makes you a girl. The truth is much more interesting than that. Only boys? What about the only boys and girls? What about the rest of us? Are there more than two different kinds of people? Wait, what? Let's go. Are you a boy or a girl? When the baby is born, the midwife or the doctor say it's a boy or it's a girl. But that's not always the case, it's saying. It says that that's based on our outside, our cover, and who they think we are. But who do we think we are?
Yeah.
And it goes on to say that we might think we are the opposite sex, and that's would be then who we are.
Yeah.
Maybe you're called a boy, but you know you're a girl. You know how girls are treated and what they do. Maybe you're called a girl, but you feel you're a boy. Part of being a kid is learning what you like and don't like.
Think about how damaging that is to tomboys.
It's so insidious.
To tomboys. Yeah. I've met so many. I have friends that say, I am so glad I was not introduced to this because I wanted to be a boy. I had all brothers. I played sports. That's just who they were.
Well, and if you have a child who's a boy who wants to wear pink, instead of saying, well, that makes you a girl.
Exactly.
Let them wear pink. Or if they're attracted to something that is a more feminine, stereotypically feminine activity, that doesn't mean they're not a boy.
Exactly.
It means they're a boy attracted to more stereotypically feminine activity and to let it be. Let that be.
Yeah. If they pick up a doll of their sisters or play with their sister in the doll, that doesn't make them gay or the other gender.
This talks about touching other people. It says, do you like to be touched or do you not like to be touched? So basically, if you like the touch, then you should go for it. If you don't like the touch, then you should not go for it, which is, again, super insidious to say, well, if you like how something feels, then it must be a good feeling. Well, which is honestly, molesters use that approach all the time.
Absolutely. And
so it's very,
kids
very
confuse
dark.
That attention that they naturally want. And the groomers and the molesters use that in that kind of way.
There's a section about masturbation, and it says, touching yourself is one way to learn about yourself, your body, and your feelings, and it can make you feel warm and tingly. Grown-ups call this kind of touch masturbation. Do you know if there are rules in your family about touching yourself? If there are rules, do they make sense to you? So this is from a boy who I believe is a victim of sexual child abuse. He is called Desmond is Amazing, and his parents claim that he likes drag, and it's a book celebrating this boy who's been dressed as a drag queen since a very young age. And so this book is all to celebrate him. My parents allow me to explore dressing up and creating colorful characters like RuPaul. I should be proud. It talks all about LGBTQ pride in here. It talks all about his character and how he likes to dress up. Terms: lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, gender nonconforming, gender fluid. Sources at the end: Barack Obama. Let's see, who are the sources at the end here? It says, sources: Barack Obama from a speech I guess he gave in 2009. Okay. Tell us about this book, Wait, What?
It's the same thing. It's the transgender, gay, love your body, feel your body. This actually has cartoon pictures that they're really, helping the child by creating little coloring instructions for them where they have half a penis drawn, half a vagina drawn, and encourage you to draw the other half and color it in.
Where can we find this book?
Kids sections in books and public, in the public schools.
So again, we might blur this out, but it actually has a coloring page for drawing penises and vaginas. Then it over here has a page where it talks about how trans girls like me, whose sense of gender isn't the same as the sex the doctor said I was when I was born, are just as real as girls like Alexis and Malia. That's also true about trans boys. So the characters in this book are 3 girls. One of them they say is a trans girl. Here we go. How do you know when you're ready for sex? When I want to be sexual with a partner in the first place. When I have access to sexual health information and safer sex supplies. When my future love and I have respect and trust for each other, then you know you're ready to have sex. You have condoms and you want to do it. That is what it's telling
and you're
children.
10, so go for it.
Most things people call sex, like oral sex or intercourse, comes with both risks and responsibilities. Most people who are 11, 13, or even 15 probably aren't going to be able to manage all of that. Yeah, I guess pregnancy could be a risk.
You guess.
It says, yeah, I get it. It's about being knowledgeable, cautious, and prepared.
Yep.
So provided you are knowledgeable and cautious and prepared and you're 11 years old, then it's up to you. It's totally up to you.
You've been being told the story about all the different contraceptions to be safe so that you can be ready at 10, 11, 13 to have sex.
So Karen, I think that your average parent who learns about this likes to think this is just not happening to my kids. This is some conspiracy theory that some activists are making a big kerfuffle about, and it's really not so bad. And some parents, maybe they have really great relationships with their local public school teachers or their local librarian. And there are some amazing public school teachers and some amazing public librarians. So in the mix of all of that, it can be easy to not see this.
Right.
Why is it so important for parents to know this information?
Well, you need to know for a couple of reasons. First of all, we are funding it. Our dollars are paying for this. And if you know about this and that our tax dollars are paying for it, I believe we're somewhat complicit. Not everyone has to become me, but you need to be aware of it. You can go to your online. You can check and see what's at your local public library. You can look up and see if it's perfectly normal. The Everybody book. You can literally see if it's in the children's section, or you can go in and look at them. We've put a website together that has called it takebacktheclassroom.com, and it has the books. So you can go to that website, look at your state, look at your school district, look at your school, and look up the books that are in your school that are, we call it pervasively vulgar. And all of these are in there. We have excerpts. We have the school that it's in. We have lists of excerpts. It's not a one-off. We're not talking about opposing a book on puberty. It's stuff that is pervasively vulgar, and they're spending our tax dollars on this. Our kids are getting, they're getting it on their phones. They're getting it in TV, but we aren't paying for it as taxpayers. These are our public schools, our public libraries, and that should represent our community.
Well, and I think that there is a profound difference between a book that's truly educational about how the body works and about, sexual relationship and what the correct context is for that. But I think it's another thing altogether to put a overt, dark, very sexually deviant ideology on top of sex and make that the entryway for children to learn about this. And the fact that it's in kids sections and it's not something that they're inviting the parents to be part of, that's literally available for truly a 4-year-old to pick up in books where children do pick up 4-year-olds. And it's designed for young children.
Pick that up.
It is incredibly insidious.
Yeah,
it's incredibly insidious.
Satan is very crafty.
There's numbers today, about how many children are identifying as trans. So apparently now the numbers have spiked. Over 3% of high school students are identifying as transgender. And I think the latest numbers are that a fourth to sometimes even a third of school-age children are identifying as LGBTQ.
And we wonder why. And it's because not just the curriculum, but we've been in everything they read and pick up at school and in the libraries is giving them that message. And if adults are allowing that message to be given and the government's giving that message, it's okay to the kids, because we tell the kids to listen to other adults and, not necessarily trust your government, but be respectful and respect your elders. And then we've got them pushing this on our kids.
Governor Gavin Newsom here in California has said that, this is book banning, trying to remove these books from public libraries. He calls it book banning. And he kind of, I think, pulls on something that is important to most people, and I know to both of us, which is freedom of speech, the importance of education and not having, overt agendas in education. But the same people arguing they're calling it book banning, they are arguing for overt agendas, because I think what people don't realize is there is an agenda, there is a book list that these school systems and these public libraries have, and these are the books on the list.
Yep.
And they are the ones promoting and pushing this on the taxpayer dime.
Yeah. And then they want to claim that we're starting a culture war. No, you started the culture war. We're just saying we don't want our kids to have access to this in a public space. We want it moved to the adult section, or, we don't want minors to have access to it. There is no reason for these books that are pervasively vulgar to be in any public school exposing any minor at the age of 18 and under. It just doesn't belong there. There's no good reason for it. A lot of times they'll come back and say, oh, well, that rape scene, very graphic written out. It was germane to the story. So it was really good for the 14-year-old to read. No, it's never appropriate. I don't care what story it's supposed to be germane to. Graphic sex, abuse, rape scenes don't belong in the minds of any of our minor children.
There's a case to be made that when you expose minor children to graphic sex scenes, whether they're drawn in a book or they are written about in a book, it is a form of grooming because you're normalizing sexual abuse or sexual activity for a very young child that should not have that normalized to them. It's totally age inappropriate. And it opens up sort of a sense of, yes, normalization and also even curiosity in a child that provokes that in them. So then ultimately make them get involved. They can feel like it's normal for them to get involved in sexual activity in a premature way, which is deeply harmful for them.
Yeah. And that is what they're telling them. I mean, all of the books that you brought up and how they talk about masturbation. I mean, that is what these books are doing. And we wonder why those numbers you just read are so high. Well, it's because the messages, all of this consistently, not a one-off, consistently are telling our children they're hearing it in first grade. They're seeing it in the second grade. They're seeing it in third grade. They're seeing it at the public library. They're seeing it at the library at the school. They're being assigned it in eighth or ninth grade English. All of this book was assigned for there was a list. Red County, Clarksville, Tennessee, red state. This, along with other books that the ALA put out as banned books, their assignment was to read the books and do a presentation on why they shouldn't be banned and how banning books is bad, meaning anything your parent wants you not to read. This book was on there. So
what's the published date of that book, Karen?
This one, it's the 20th anniversary right there. No, these have been around. This has been going on and we have not been paying attention, and it was COVID that really opened it up.
So this is according to the CDC. It says that high school students, 12.2% identify as bisexual, 5% as questioning, 4% as other, 3% as gay or lesbian, and 2% said they didn't understand the question. We're talking over 20% of high school students identifying as LGBTQ. The CDC says the number of LGBTQ students went from 11% in 2015 to now a full 26% in 2021.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is not
a quarter.
A natural thing to happen. That is because we've allowed this influence into our kids' lives with our taxpayer dollars.
Karen, tell us what's happening in Huntington Beach right now.
So Huntington Beach, they have a city council that was very proactive and went on the offense and said, hey, in our public libraries, because the city council governs over the librarian, police, fire, all of that, they said, these books are inappropriate in the kids section. So the stuff that's inappropriate in the kids section, we want it moved up to the fourth floor adult section, and you must have a parent's permission to check it out. That's all they did. The ACLU came in and sued them.
See, I would just say take them out of the library entirely.
Well, yes.
It's propaganda books. They don't belong there. You're saying all they did was bump them to the more mature section and just say you need parents' permission to check them out.
Yes. And so the ACLU came in and there's a lawsuit, but then they came in, the ACLU and the ALA came in and put a referendum on the ballot so that people can vote to overturn that, protecting the kids' hearts and minds and protecting parental rights. They want to overturn what city council did. And they even took it a step further. So Measure A is what they're calling it. Measure A would allow all of these books back in the kids section, wherever the librarian wants to put them, but they're all in the kids section. And then Measure B, they came up with something convoluted because the district isn't trying this, but they're saying that they're trying to privatize the library. They're not, but it also takes the authority to govern over the librarian away from city council. I mean, can you imagine that, to just have police or fire with no accountability, just do their own thing? And that's what would happen if these pass. And so we're urging a no vote.
So I want to show a Facebook post from trustee Gina Clayton Tarvin. So Huntington Beach, a school district trustee.
Yes, I think it's Ocean View. Yeah.
Ocean View. You're right. She says vote yes on measures A and B. And this is how they're framing it. They're saying, and you just described that Measure A takes the power away from the duly elected city council members to ensure that these pornographic books and sexually explicit books are not available in the kids section. That's what they're trying to do. They're unanimous on this front.
Yes.
And these groups, far left liberal activist groups like ACLU, are challenging it. They get these two measures on the ballot for the public, Measure A and Measure B. Fair enough. Let the people vote to protect children. This is how they are messaging these measures in Huntington Beach, California, to mislead the public about what they actually would do. Measure A, which is designed to wrest the power of protecting children from the city council and give it to the unelected bureaucrat of the librarian, who's in this case a far leftist who wants this junk in the public library. This is how they're describing Measure A. Yes, on Measure A. Measure A protects parents' rights.
How does it do that?
It says Measure A gives families, not politicians, the right to decide what their child can read.
No, it doesn't. It's exactly the opposite. It opens a door wide open to let them read anything at any time, just like the American Library Association wants them to do, and takes any sort of redress or recourse away from the parent who says, I don't want my child to have access to this. It's exactly the opposite.
It says Measure A keeps our kids safe. Measure A protects Huntington Beach students and children from indoctrination.
We just showed.
Tell me, everybody, indoctrination or not?
My thing is it puberty, porn, or propaganda? And only the puberty books are legit in this area. Yeah. But the propaganda, all of that, does not belong being pushed in our public.
And then again,
libraries.
This is how misleading the messaging is. Again, the correct answer is no on Measure A to let these books be not available in the kids section. But it says that Measure A, again, this is the misleading advertising they're using. Measure A would stop government overreach. It says Measure A prevents the politicization of Huntington Beach public libraries.
Yeah, because they don't like what the elected officials did by allowing parents to be the final decider on what books their children have access to.
Karen, how can people get involved in, first of all, let's start with Huntington Beach. If you're in Huntington Beach, what should people be doing right now?
Well, you can go to takebackthecommunity.com, sign up for our emails, and we are...
Take Back the Community or Take Back the Classroom?
Take Back the Community is one that deals with the public libraries.
Okay.
Take Back the Classroom is in the public schools. And so we actually developed the site just for Huntington Beach because Huntington Beach is ground zero. Politico wrote about it. This is where if they win this battle here, they're going to take this battle everywhere. And they're going to initiate it with lies, misleading ballot measures. And they are going to make sure that the shelves are lined with even more of these, especially because they also hate the current president, many of them. And I mean, they're fighting at the local level like crazy. So go to takebackthecommunity.com, set up, get on our email list. We have toolkits there. We have frequently asked questions. We talk about how do you handle the objections. We show the books that are in the Huntington Library with a tag that shows it's in the Huntington Beach Library for children. So we put all the proof out there to let everybody decide for themselves. And still, if somebody wants their minor child to have access to all of this, they still can at the library. We're just saying, keep this stuff out of the hands of the kids unless the parent says, I want my child to have this. That is true parental rights. And so Huntington Beach is important because this is where they want to set their mark and then take this template all around the country. And they'll do it with lies. And so Huntington Beach is important. But I'm encouraging people, you can look up on your county library. You can go to Huntington Beach Library and you can look up the books. You can see where they are. You can see if they're in the youth section, adult section, minor section. You can go to our website and read the excerpts. You decide if I'm full of hyperbole and if I'm, clutching my pearls and just being overly prudish. I'm not. And I encourage you to go to the website and look at what we are talking about, just what you showed here. We have from the actual books. We have over almost 400 on our website now. And in doing Huntington Beach, I've just found like three more. And I'm one of the leading, book person in the country. And just in the last 2 weeks, as I've been working on this campaign, I have 3 more books that are like, wow, we've got these are everywhere. Yeah.
So takebacktheclassroom.com, takebackthecommunity.com. And any parent or any person can go to the sites and see the books that are in your library and in your class and in the public school classrooms.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What do you think every parent and person should be doing right now in terms of once they find out that there's something bad, this content is in their school library or in their public library? What should they do to take action?
They need to take action first by educating themselves on what the current policy is. It usually, to remove a book, it's usually filling out some sort of form complaint and turning it over to the librarian. And the librarian comes back and says, oh, well, we thought this is still really good. Then you'll probably have it take it to city council or the school board. And we will help you with that. I mean, that's why we've created handouts with excerpts of all of this so that you can take it to the school board and say, okay, school board, do you think this is okay for our 5-year-olds? And if they do, you probably want to vote them out of office. And if they don't, then you want to back them running for office. So this is what really needs to be done. It is up to us. No one's going to go protect our kids. The librarian and the American Library Association want our kids to have these books. I mean, you read it from the American Library Association. Kids should have access to everything in the public library.
This is such an amazing resource that you've created, Karen. Thank you so much. This is something specific for Huntington Beach, but I know you have this for really any community. The information is available on the websites, takebacktheclassroom.com, takebackthecommunity.com. You have really, you've gone through the hard work of cataloging all this insanity. And it's not just the books we discussed in today's interview. There's truly hundreds of more books. Many of them are directed towards teen dramas or teen romance books with explicit sexual scenes, as you referenced earlier.
And not just one. Pervasively vulgar is the threshold we use for our website, which means it's not a one-off. It's not just the first paragraph you're reading. It's throughout the book.
Karen, I'm so grateful for the work that you're doing. It's really heroic. And I think, again, if parents knew and people knew, not just parents, anybody knew about this, everyone agrees this is crazy. One more question for you. Why do you think it has gotten to this point? What's your theory on that? That our libraries and our school libraries are full of this kind of content and everyday parents just don't even know? Well,
again, this is 20th year edition. So this stuff has been around. I think it has increased. And I do think it kind of started during the Obama administration and when he first did the stuff on Title IX. And I think there was just more of a big push. I think there's a lot of people that have become apathetic and have not wanted to speak up because they don't want to be called a book banner. Or, I'm called my name is Karen and I'm called a Karen. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to protect these kids. I am dedicated to stopping the sexualization of our kids. These are taxpayer funds. I'm doing it. My tax dollars are buying these books and I've got to stop it. And so I want to help anyone that wants to go in, file the challenge. We want to provide you the materials to do that. It has gotten this bad because we've kind of taken a step back. And I think this last election, whether you like him or not, I think people started to wake up and go, okay, my voice does matter. I can speak what I believe. And so I think people are starting to get more engaged, but I think they've been lied to. And Lila, I think the church has been apathetic too. So I have a real frustration with the church where sex and sexuality belong to the church and belong to God. They don't belong to the government and the public school libraries. And the church, I think, in general, has really taken a step back and they are not equipping our parents and they are not calling this stuff out. I encourage youth pastors to start getting involved because they're dealing with these and the kids that are being sexualized and naturally as a teenager confused about sexuality at different times with their hormones. And they're getting the wrong message. And we need to be the ones that come in and protect them and give them the right message.
Karen, thank you so much for your work on this front. Where can everybody go? Remind us the websites again.
Takebacktheclassroom.com and takebackthecommunity.com.
Amazing.
And thank you, Lila, for giving this the platform because I believe if people knew, they would do something about it. They just don't know.
Thank you so much. I want to usher a special challenge and encouragement to everybody listening. You have a public library near you, whether you're in California or not. And I want to encourage everyone, especially those that go to the library with their kids, to go to the library and see what books are in your children's section. If you can, go to the library, see what's in your children's section. If you see any propaganda books like those that are on this table, promoting LGBTQ plus IA ideologies, promoting pornographic, sexually deviant materials, take a photo. You can hold the book in your hand with the library, wall of library books behind you. Take a photo. I would love to start a movement of parents spreading awareness to other parents and just other people who care. You can be an aunt or an uncle or a big sister or brother who has, younger children you care about. Start a movement of exposing what is happening to indoctrinate and sexually exploit our children. And please support Karen's amazing work and check out her sites again, takebacktheclassroom.com and takebackthecommunity.com. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of The Lila Rose Show. Don't forget to subscribe to the show if you're not subscribed already. And don't forget to share this episode with a concerned citizen or parent that you know so that they can join the fight to take back our classrooms and our communities. And a huge thank you to EWTN, Eternal Word Television Network, which is the largest religious broadcaster in the world. You can get access to Lila Rose Show episodes 24 hours in advance at EWTN.com/on-demand. And a big thank you to EWTN and their incredible mission to bring souls to Jesus.